right, everybody, we're back to Humanize IT with Jenny once again for Cybersecurity Awareness Month. And she came up with a great idea that I want her to explain today on how to kind of gamify cybersecurity with your clients.
Hey guys, it's Jenny again from CMIT Solutions of Southwest Jax. I think one of the best ways to kind of keep a conversation going about cybersecurity is by starting with a game. Kind of takes out all the tension, just kind of have some fun with it. Also learn some really cool concepts that are memorable. So we have a game I call it Spot the Typo Squat. Um, Adam, are you actually able to pull up a link to it or anything?
I can. How about you explain to us what a typo squat is, and I will pull it up here.
I kind of want to save that till after we kind of see
Okay.
what your results
All
are
right.
of and I'll explain the game too as soon as you kind of get it up on the screen of what we're looking at here. So it looks like your basic word search, but you're going to find the correct spelling of 5 very recognizable business names. So American Express is one of them, Google's another, Facebook, um, Jacksonville Public Library, so that's local Jacksonville, and CMIT Solutions, my company. And usually I
Okay.
give people 1 minute. Do you want me to time you for 1 minute?
Yeah, you can give me 1 minute.
Okay.
Let me loosen up here and check out my screen. So audio listeners, you can kind of imagine I'm looking at what looks like a word search here with some very interestingly spelled items.
All
All
right.
right, tell me when I can go.
3, 2, 1, go.
All right, I see American, Ameri. Oh no, it fooled me. Crap. American Express, No, it starts with an E. Oh no, it's really throwing me for loops here. Who wrote this thing? So what I'm looking at here is I'm looking for American Express, people, and there's like 6 different ways to spell it inside this word search, which is just being cruel to me right now. So with American with an Express, I've got American. Oh wait, there it is. Americ. Nope, it's missing an A. It's really hard to spot when I'm just kind of running through here quickly. I want to believe that the spelling is correct. Americanexpress. Okay, I found one, I think. And then if I come over here, like I've got CMI2. Oh, am I done already?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah, and I don't even have
I
groups.
think I've got one out of the 5 over here, people.
And I would actually have people play this in groups too, so you could like have multiple people kind of trying to find them. So yes, you did find the correct American Express, but you saw how easy it was to find and think that you had the right one until you actually carefully scanned it and realized, oh, there's the A missing or the E's missing. So that's essentially what typo squatting is. It's a method where a threat actor might buy a domain that looks a lot like one that we would recognize, like Facebook.com, but missing an O, or there's an extra O kind of squeezed in, or an American Express that is missing the A or it's swapped with the C. So just something you would just glance over and completely miss. And even in this game where you're intentionally looking for the correct spelling, your eyes went to the incorrect one, and it took a little bit to kind of go, oh, wait a minute, you were being very careful about it. So when we go through like our emails or something, and we just kind of take a glance at the branding looks about right, you're like, I sometimes get emails from this organization, and you don't question it. Then you start, of course, clicking the links inside because you're like, I don't want to read through all this, and I'll just go ahead and see what they need from me. If it clicks a link that says something like, oh, check out the security update that we just got. Somebody tried to log into your account. Click here to deny, and it's totally fake, right? Now there's a security. Somebody's logging in now because you just gave them all your information, or you did a user interaction with a malicious email, and that's all it needs to do with, run scripts and do all kinds of stuff at that point.
Yeah, and this has been around for a while. I know back in the early .com days, the squatting was more prolific. You would just buy like a close domain name and say, "Hey, I'll sell this to you for $1,000." And if they didn't sell it, you just put something really highly inappropriate on this site, and it caused a PR disaster for you. But I gotta say, you are bringing up something here. I did not know typosquatting. That is a really neat term. Like, I always look at URLs. Like, I hate hiding URLs in, so I'll hover over and I'll read it.
Mm-hmm.
And like, that's not Facebook. It'll be like sites.com/Facebook, or
Mm-hmm.
it'll be something very similar, Facebook. And that's what's kind of nice about the way you designed this word search here, is that I had to really focus to understand if this was the right word, like as you were seeing me go through it. And I think that that's a great way to show people, like, you can be overly confident in what it is that you think is going on. You think you heard this thing, you think you saw this link appropriately, but you
Uh-huh.
didn't.
Uh-huh.
So what are some great ways to combat this?
I think there's some responsibility that comes down to if we talk about specifically email, and I was realizing this too, there isn't really a strong way to be able to check the credentials of an email in any sort of like a safe preview without opening it. You kind of have to trust that if it ends up in your inbox, it's a legit email. They are trying to work really hard to flag junk emails and automatically, put them in a junk folder where you never even see them, a quarantine of some kind. Um, so definitely that's one thing. Stay out of your junk inbox. Don't feel like there's something that you might be missing and you need to check in there unless, you're trying to work through something and they're telling you it might be in junk. Even then, be careful when you go in there. Um, Another thing is there are tools out there that can be used to increase your email security. I'm exploring some all the time and kind of running tests to see if they're, which ones are strongest at identifying legitimate emails versus fake ones. Sometimes they can overflag though, so that's kind of another thing too. Um, you'll have to kind of really go in and create those allow lists pretty manually at first. So for work emails, it's a little easier because you usually just receive work emails from the same set places or set senders, and that you can create that whitelist. But for personal, I think it's a little trickier.
Yeah, and more advanced for people who maybe listen to this from a consumer standpoint. I mean, yes, your MSP is going to be able to have filters, but you also have to listen to them and what they say. Like, you can do filters that'll look at an email, it'll actually trace out a link for you on your behalf and see if it actually is going to a legit site or if it's going somewhere malicious, or it's trying to clickbait you. But you have to have these filters in place. The more advanced ones that do like link tracing, a lot of times those are not by default installed. And so ask your MSP, how do I avoid this, especially with Christmas coming around. Christmas is a prime time for this crap to hit your inboxes. So as an MSP, you need to be letting your people know, like, during Cybersecurity Awareness Month in October, do a game like this. And then you show that need, and they're like, oh crap, that was a little harder than I thought. No wonder people get phished all the time. Well, we can use Proofpoint, or you name your favorite email protection service. It's going to cost this much extra a month, and here's how we keep you safe so you can have confidence in your inbox. Now, in your
Uh-huh.
personal life, you can talk about personal tools and how things that plug into Gmail or things that plug into third parties. So I really like the fact that this raises awareness. Like, me as a security focused guy, this got me thinking about the way I see links versus, and how easy it was for me. I went through 4 different wrong ones before I found the right one. And I was convinced by the second one I had the right one. And so your users, when they're having these problems, when they're clicking on the wrong links, they're convinced that this is right. They're just trying to get through their day.
Mhm.
But you also have a second uh, game here. What is this?
I do. So I'm gonna send you another link actually, but what I think I might do is actually start by sharing my screen if that's okay, and
Sure.
kind of showing a different game and kind of the setup of one. So I
And for
pull
those of
this.
you listening, you can look in the description of the podcast. I'll have these links for you, as long as Jenny doesn't take them down.
No, these are actually just games that I've made up, and I use them at networking events just to invoke conversation just like this. So this one is one that I've played with kids through. So Basically, I explained what a complex password was to a kid, you know. These were ages like 5 to 13, and they had to create complex passwords for different applications. Um, so here's an example. I just put some placeholders here, but like we're talking about how you need to make complex passwords for many different things. How do you remember them all, right? That we talked about this before. We're remembering complex passwords for so many different applications gets really difficult, but kids usually don't have too many that they need to worry about right now. So this would be some way to kind of teach them about making complex passwords that they can remember. So for example, I'll actually make it a little bit quicker just for demonstration purposes and take out 2 of these, but we could say something like selfies are best 556, you know. Maybe add a special character. Let's start with a $sign. Something like this. We'll make a few passwords and then we can actually start there and I can have you take over and then I'll walk you through kind of the rest of the game. So
Okay.
let me send over a link.
Yeah, so it looks like we've got a card memory game here that you can flip it over. So is this help you memorize your passwords, or what's this going to help us with?
No, it kind of talks through like teaching people how to, or kids or anyone, how to kind of see if their passwords work for them. Because we get a lot of recommendations on how to build an effective password. We get a lot of
Uh-huh.
recommendations on using different tools to kind of do, we talked about password managers, you know, that's a way. But if you're managing only a few things that you need to worry about passwords for, this could be kind of a way to talk through why it's good to make passwords that you remember, and but they also talk kind of evoke that conversation again on how you would need to make them memorable and make them memorable for you. But even if you're not doing a password that is necessarily one that um I mean, even for your, just in general, it's something that even if you are using a password management tool, you still need to make a good password for that tool, right? So building one that you can remember and is very complex. All right, give me 1 second here. Pulling this up. Okay. All right. I'm gonna send you this link. And again, just a really easy way to, again, get people to engage and ask questions and learn more about cybersecurity.
Yeah, I have always been a big fan of gamifying some of this stuff. Let's see here. This is the create screen. Did you mean to share
Mhm.
me the create screen? Okay.
Yes.
So for those of you listening, it's like the old memory game where you flip the cards, but it looks like you can actually create your own game here.
Yes.
So, all right, so show me how this is going to work for us.
All right. So in all the boxes that say text, name 4 things that, I mean, I did more for depending on the age. Like if it was
Sure.
5, I did 4. If it was 13, I did like 8. But you can do something that you might make a password for, like a Facebook page, company website. Yep, that's a good one.
All right, so I got Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, and Gmail.
Cool. And we'll change the image boxes to text. So just click the drop down.
Text.
Yep.
Okay. It won't be as pretty this way. Audio. Oh man, that
So
could get
you're,
rude.
yeah. So, you know, think of like what makes a good password for you that you'd remember this is specific to your Facebook. And so you won't confuse it either with your LinkedIn or your Instagram.
So I'm gonna make a password here.
And use those complex password policies like should be over a certain number of characters, has a number, capitalizations.
There. Don't forget me. Jenny is interesting. Is that too complex?
Oh my God, I don't know if I could remember all that. You have to remember you almost did mostly leet speak.
Well, I'm trying to make it simple for myself because I'm old. Okay.
There we go.
I'll do elite.
What I love is that you're gonna forget that you made is with a regular I, and it's gonna be the only word that has an I in there that you're gonna be like, all
Yeah,
the I's are supposed
throw off the hackers.
to yeah, throw them for a loop.
Not a password. And Gmail. Don't log in ever. We're gonna make a really bad one. All right.
All right. So, at the bottom underneath the cards, you're gonna see where this says "Good to save your changes," and you can actually play the game.
Underneath the cards, like on the right
Mm-hmm.
here.
It's gonna be where I can't see the rest of your screen. There we go. Save
I
latest
got.
changes, that purple button. Yep.
I need to scroll more.
And play puzzle.
All right. Play puzzle. All right. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So I'm guessing
Change
if I
your
click
screen
one,
so we can see the new window or a new tab.
oh, I see. It didn't update. That's what I get for trying to be fancy here with this new software. All right, we got our 8 cards here upside down. So
Uh-huh.
just like standard memory rules, I'm guessing.
Yep.
All right,
See
my
if you
Instagram
remember.
password.
Uh-huh.
No. Uh, that's my Gmail password.
Nice.
I can do this. Was that my? No.
Nice.
Yay!
Good job. So you can imagine how much harder this gets, right? As you have more passwords to memorize, and you have a lot more applications that you're trying to make passwords for. A lot of conversation that I ended up having with a lot of the kids was they couldn't remember what they had just created for their passwords. I actually made it so they only had to do 2 new passwords, and gave them some other examples of a bunch of other ones for their applications, and then they had to do the matching. But even for their passwords that they just made, they couldn't remember, like, what did I use that for the school website or did I use that for my own home computer? Like, I don't remember what I assigned it to. And then, yeah, then they start panicking and clicking just everything.
Yeah, and I guess that's kind of where we are. Like I type in one, I type in the next one, I type in the next one. And that's what
Oh,
drove me to my password vault, right? And I was like, I have thousands of these. I mean, people will talk about how many passwords they have in their personal lives. I guarantee you, none of you can even hold a shadow to an IT person. The number of passwords we have, like, let's just think Linksys. How many passwords in my vault just pertain to Linksys?
uh-huh.
I remember one time I counted up, it was like 300 I had because I would set up a router at a business. I would store the password for the client and I would move on to the next one. And it got big. It got really big after a while. And you constantly remember, like, wait a minute, what was this one's password? What was that password? What's the default password? All these
Mm-hmm.
things you need to know. And it just drove us crazy. So a game like this where it teaches you like match these passwords to this account, it does help, like from a technology standpoint, to show people like this is why you struggle. This is why you just keep using the same password over and over again. Imagine how much
Mhm.
easier this game would be if I would use the same 4 passwords.
Yeah,
Then all I
right.
gotta do is click on the card and I will win every time. That's the mentality why people reuse passwords. They always
Mhm.
win.
Right. You could
But
actually use
so
this
does the
game.
attacker.
Right. And you can use this game to also discuss why someone needs to not do that. What happens when you have passwords of the same one used over and over. I just have to guess one thing and then I've got access to all your stuff. And then you could use this as a way to encourage businesses as an MSP to move to a solution like a password manager so they don't have to worry about this kind of thing because passwords do have to change on a regular basis. You do have to have some sort of policy in place where it changes at least every 6 months, if not more frequently, depending on the sensitivity of the application, and the data that you're storing.
Yeah, I've got a speech I usually give people, especially other security advisors out there, is that if you are frustrated that your users are using post-it notes for their passwords or sticking on things, people are lazy. People want to do things the easy way. So if your password policies are too complex and you don't have a way of mitigating that complexity and making it easy for the user, they'll find some way to make it easier. And do you support that crutch that they're going to use? So using a password manager or having some kind of keychain on their OS that they can use, like with your Macs,
Uh-huh.
having something that helps them so they don't reuse passwords, so they don't so their memory is not clogged up with all of these things that they're constantly guessing on, that they're actually like trying to build something that matters, build something that's secure, make them want to be more secure. So teaching them like good passwords. Can you remember this? Like I could put a bunch of passwords in here, they're random numbers. If I put my ones for my password vault, I would have never won this game. It would just be blind clicking. But because I know my one password to my main vault and it's MFA and
Uh-huh.
it's geo, I can now say, oh, this will automatically find it for me. But at the same time, if somebody gets that and is in my house and like it meets all the criteria for getting in, then they have everything. So
Uh-huh.
there's caveats to this. So remember, like when you're talking to your users at businesses, when you're talking to even your fellow admins, you got to make sure that they know like laziness will always trump security. And so you've got to find a way for being more secure, being the lazy way.
Yeah. I think one thing that's cool too that you can use as again, supporting the idea of a password manager or moving to that system is you only have to log into one thing and then also only do that MFA act maybe on one thing. Because you can set it up so that you just have to have MFA enabled for that password manager, and then it will be able to log in everything else. Um, and that I know has been a pain point for a lot of late adapters of MFA who resist it because it hasn't been enforced by the companies, or they're they're saying no, you can't use my personal device to authenticate into anything. Like no, I'm not giving my cell phone. There's a lot of pushback, right? They think it's an extra step that they have to wait for. They said it's getting into my personal stuff, where I'm downloading this app for your sake to secure my work accounts. Um, so you can get all kinds of
Uh,
pushback.
yeah, I have lots of speeches for those people like, oh, I'm not going to put this on. Fine, then you can't log into our systems. It's like,
Right.
I'm not going to carry around a key card because I think it's hijacking my brain. Okay, fine. You can't get into our building. You're not going to be able to work here. And
Hmm.
so, when I worked at a data center, I always feel like I missed out. I wanted the retinal scan. But all they ever got me was all they got for us was the bio for thumbprints or fingerprints. And I felt cool because you're in the man trap, you're putting your finger on the bio
Right.
and doors unlocking key card. And so some people, yeah, they're resistant to that. I don't want you to scan my bio. Like, hey, fine, you
Hmm.
can't work here. That's a policy. I
Hmm.
don't want to use a password vault. You want to use MFA on my phone. Fine, that's part of our policies here. You have to use MFA. If you do not agree to that, you do not have to work here. You're not entitled to work at our workplace.
Hmm.
Always remember that, businesses. You get to set your security. If you want to require that everybody wears a pink tutu to work, guess what? I'm just going to find an extra, extra large. Or I'm not going to work there. If they don't want to observe your security standards, they don't have to work there.
Mhm.
There's a big problem in the corporate world is tailgating, right? People get their access card, they swipe it, and then somebody comes in the door right after them.
Uh-huh.
Well, now there's no log of when that person came in the building. There's what if they had just gotten fired and they're just tailgating in to come in and do some exfiltration? There's lots of things that can happen there. And so we try to say, no, everybody has to key in. And so there's different ways to make that a little bit easier. But if you don't make it easier, people just tailgate. People just prop doors open so they can bring in furniture or do things that are easier.
Uh-huh.
People like easy. So when you're talking to them about the security, my final thing for me is make it easier for them. Find them tools that are going to help them be more secure in an easy way. And you will win. Jennii, what are your takeaways here? What can you make a recommendation for on this gamifying one? This is going to make them want to care. You're showing them how they're going to want to do this. Like rather than just shouting at them, you're actually making it fun for them to see the point you want to make. Now, what's the next step for this?
I think it goes down to what you're saying, enforce your policies. At the end of the day, if your policies aren't followed and then something happens as a result, that employee is not the one that's going to face those consequences the same way you are,
Yep.
because you didn't enforce it from the beginning. And unfortunately, policies are often introduced as a new to employees that have a lot of tenure at these companies. Then they think they're so secure in their position that there's no way that this is going to be all it takes for them to be no longer part of the organization, right?
Mhm.
But unfortunately, as the owners of businesses or as a decision maker at a business, you have to enforce these policies if you're going to have them in place. And that goes to explaining the why to those employees as well. So games like this, I feel like, are great ways to kind of invoke that conversation of if people didn't follow your policies, the ones that you put in place, why would you keep them there? Why would you
Yep.
allow them to get away with it? What's the point of a policy at that point? And talking about what the risks and issues are with a password compromise, making it very clear about what that can result in is worse than termination of one employee. You may make the company shut down. It really could come to that.
Yeah, and I appreciate this. This is a great podcast to have. I'm definitely going to try to push this into maybe next week. Try to get this early in the holiday season so people can kind of see what this is. And if you're out there want some help from Jennii and have her gamify this for you or build some of these for you, reach out to her. Jennii's over at CMIT. She's in Jacksonville, Florida, and they have a great program over there. And if you're an MSP who wants help with this, just reach out to her as well. Again, this is Adam Walter with Humanize IT. Thank you, Jennii, for coming on, and I hope to have you on again.
Thanks for having me, Adam. Good to talk to you.